Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a metallic party dress to wear to an event I have coming up. If that sounds fun, keep watching. If this is the first time you're seeing one of my videos, my name's Rachel. Thanks for stopping by. I like to make stuff here, and since I've primarily been sewing lately, you can expect to see a little bit of personal style chit chat here too. Okay, so a little less than 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be going to a fundraising event, and the theme is silver and gold. So I know I'm cutting it a little bit close, making a dress right now, but I've been super busy. I'm actually helping out with the event. So I'm just kind of squeezing this project in so I have something fabulous and new and metallic to wear to this event. And I'm going to be using this fabric. So I've actually had this fabric for a couple years now. If you watch my first fabric video ever, I had talked about this fabric. I was going to use it for a holiday dress that year, but I ended up finding some silver fabric that I used instead. So if this is a disaster, I have that dress to wear as a fallback. But with the silver and gold theme, I figured now would be the perfect chance to use this fabric. So I got this fabric at Fabric Place Basement in Massachusetts back when I was living over there. I think this is like spandex. It's really, really stretchy, and it has all of this like metallic stuff all over it. It's kind of obnoxious, but I kind of like that. I really like how it looks when it drapes and when it gathers. So I have picked out a sewing pattern for this already. Just about a month ago, I posted a video sharing my fall and winter sewing plans, and I mentioned wanting to use this pattern for this dress. This is the Persephone Dress by Gunnar Dethridge. And in that video, I was going to make the full length version of this dress. So here was my drawing of the dress that I wanted to make. So as you can see, it's a turtleneck at the top, and then the bottom is this really nice flowing long kind of like ruffle all the way around the bottom. And that's what I was planning on doing with this fabric right here. But since actually buying the pattern for this and then realizing that I need 4 yards of fabric to make the long version, I measured this, and this is about 2.7 yards of fabric. So I have a little bit over 2.5 yards of fabric, which is enough to make a long sleeve version of the short dress according to the pattern. So I'm not going to be making the really long version, but I'm hoping that with the extra little bit of fabric that I do have, I can still add a ruffle onto the bottom. So here is the updated idea for what this dress is going to turn out like. I really hope that I can add the ruffle to the bottom. I just feel like it adds a little bit more of like a festive look. Also, I do kind of have broader shoulders, so I feel like adding a little bit of width to the bottom of the dress too would kind of make it look a little bit more harmonious on my body, so it's not just all form-fitting. I also think adding a ruffle at the bottom will give me a little bit more coverage. This is an example of the sewing pattern used to make the short version of the dress, and it does look pretty short. So I do really like a leggy look. I do still want the leggy look, but maybe not quite as leggy. So this is a school fundraiser, so I don't think I need to go super va-va boom, but a little bit of legginess would be great. Also, like I said, I really like how this looks kind of like bunched up and everything, and this dress has a lot of ruching all the way down the side, and I think it'd be really cute to have a ruffle made of this, even if I end up having to gather it. I know that the bottom of this dress is supposed to be like a flounce hem, like a flounce ruffle, I think. So when you look at a pattern piece, it's like shaped like a U kind of, so that when you sew it straight on the bottom, it kind of ruffles. I might have to just gather this fabric. We'll see how much I have left. I do think I'll have a little bit left. Looking at this fabric, I feel like I have a lot, and I'm not going to be cutting this on the bias. When I had first mentioned wanting to use this sewing pattern and this fabric, I was a little bit worried it was going to be like too formal, and I was trying to look for a way to make it cocktail. But since making that video, I learned that for this event, a lot of people kind of go costumey. So people really like to have fun with their outfits. So at this point, I'm really not worried about it looking like too much. I might actually add some like sparkly tights and like some cool headpiece or something. We'll see. So yeah, I think this dress is gonna be really fun, and I'm hoping it'll come together quickly because I really don't have that much time. So right now I'm gonna go print off that pattern and put it together, and then hopefully I'll be able to cut out some fabric and maybe start sewing things together before I have to go pick up my daughter from school. I always feel like things take a lot longer than I expect them to, so who knows? But I'm gonna go put a pattern together, and then I will see you guys in a little bit. Hi. Okay, so I just finished cutting out the first piece, and I just kind of wanted to go over what I did in terms of sizing. So I did have to do some grading on here. If I'm just going to buy a dress, I'm typically a size 4, but looking at this sizing chart, I noticed that I was kind of all over the place. So I was actually measuring, so I'm measuring a 4 in the chest, a 6 in the waist, and an 8 in the hips. So I kind of had to do a little bit of grading here. I know that even though I'm a size 4 around the chest, that's just because I have a small chest, but I really don't have like a super narrow frame, so I didn't want to make the shoulders too narrow for myself. So I left the shoulders at a size 6, and then it meets the size 4 right here, and then I connected this line to size 6 around the waist, and then I went from 6 to 8, like mid-hip, and then just went all the way down to 8 at the bottom. And this is the back, so I'm gonna do the same thing on the front. I'm just kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that this fits. It is a stretchy fabric, so it is very forgiving, but if it is a little bit big in certain areas, I think that it'll be pretty easy to take it in, but I'm going to try this, and hopefully it works. I'm gonna go and do the other side now, and hopefully I'll be able to get some fabric cut out before I have to leave, but I have to leave in like 30 minutes. So there's my first piece. This is what the grading looks like if you want to see it up close. You can see that I like tried out a few different lines, and I got kind of confused with which lines were which size. So I figured it out, and hopefully this fits. Okay, bye. Okay, so I just finished cutting out all the pattern pieces, and I wanted to show you the bottom. So this is what I did for the ruffle. So this is the pattern piece normally, but it's much wider. It goes like down way, way further. So this is kind of what I'm thinking will go around the bottom of the dress. So I made it 5 3/4 inches. So it'd still be a short dress. It would just have a cute little ruffle around the bottom. So hopefully I have enough fabric to make 2 of these. So this is the back one, and then this is the front one. And then the idea is that you sew this onto the straight bottom, and then it makes a cute little ruffle at the bottom. Hopefully I have enough fabric. If I don't, then I'll just end up doing like a strip of gathered fabric at the bottom. So it just looks a little bit different. I feel like a gathered bottom is going to be a little bit more voluminous, and this is gonna be like a little bit more fluttery. I have to go get my daughter from school, so I'm gonna go, and hopefully later on tonight I can cut this out and get started sewing it together. Okay, see you later. Okay, so it's a couple days later, and I just cut out all my fabric, and then I started on a couple little things, just hemming the bottom of the ruffles. So this is what the ruffles look like. This is what the bottom looks like. So it is a curved hem, which is really tricky for me still. I think I have an easier time on wovens with the curved hem now. And then this is just kind of like combining a bunch of things that are really hard for me at once. So I think it turned out okay. I just turned it up one time, so this isn't gonna fray or anything. So I just turned it up one time and I added a hem. So I finished off the bottom of both of those, and then I made these ties. So for the long version of the dress, there's no like tie at the bottom, but there are cords in the dress to create that ruched look. I think I want both. I want the ruffle and I want a tie at the bottom. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to do that. I have a couple ideas in mind, but yeah, I will have to do something a little bit different than the instructions. Hopefully it turns out good. If it doesn't, I can just trim these off and then reattach the bottom so that that whole area is covered up. I have all of the fabric cut out, so now I'm just gonna start assembling like the top portion of the dress. So I'm not sure how long this is gonna take. I watched the whole video tutorial. There is a video tutorial for this, so I'll make sure to link that down below. And it does seem pretty straightforward, but this is tricky fabric. I've worked with a lot of knits, and I feel like I'm getting a lot better at it, but this is a lot different just because it has this like metallic coating. So I feel like it behaves a lot differently. My pins don't like this fabric, and the first needle that I used didn't like this fabric. I have a jersey needle in now, so we're gonna test that out, but I might have to use just like a very sharp needle to get through all of this, because I feel like it's just gonna kind of bounce off this metallic coating. So we're trying a couple different things. Hopefully the dress comes together well. I do feel like the kind of splotchy effect of this dress is gonna be very forgiving and helpful, because I don't think that looking up super closely at it, it's gonna be perfect. But who knows, maybe I will surprise myself. So I'm gonna start putting together the top of the dress, and we'll see how much I can get done in the next hour and a half. Okay. Okay, so I just put the shoulder seams together and then one of the side seams, and this is what it's looking like right now. So it's all gathered on this shoulder and on this side seam. I still haven't finished the side seam because this is where that drawstring is gonna go in, so it's open right now, and I just have to finish that. I kind of forgot to go all the way down. That will be pretty easy to do. The thing that I'm most nervous for is this open side right here because a zipper is supposed to go in the side. And I know that the zipper is kind of optional, but after putting this on, I was kind of like pulling out the fabric to see how much space I was gonna have there. And I do think it's going to be a little tricky to get my shoulders through that waist hole because this fabric is stretchy, but I don't think it's quite as stretchy as it needs to be in order for me to get my shoulders through that hole. So I'm just gonna kind of go for it. I'm a little bit nervous because this fabric has been really tricky to work with, but I have this little invisible zipper right here. So I'm gonna go put that in and then I'll be able to finish the side seams and then I'll probably try it on just to kind of see how it's fitting, and then I can, oh, you know what? I forgot to put the sleeves on. Shoot. I'm gonna have to take this out. Or I guess I could just, let's see. I'll have to put the sleeves on differently on both sides. But yeah, I'm gonna stick a sleeve in here and then on this side too before I close it up. So yeah, I completely forgot about the sleeves. So I'll do that next and then I'll put the zipper in. So wish me luck. Hello. Okay, so we're back here. I had to go pick up my daughter from school and then I had to run a few errands and now it's getting dark. So we're back home. I'm about to make some dinner, but I wanted to show you guys the dress that I have so far. So this is what it looks like so far. So yeah, it's like gathered on this side at the top and then also on this side here. I did, let's see, I stitched up, can I stitch up this whole side? No. So this is still open right here. So I need to stitch all of this up and then put the drawstring in here. And then on this side, I'm going to have to install the zipper and then just finish this seam here. So I am kind of cruising along on this dress. It is going by a little bit faster than I expected it to, but I'm a little bit nervous it's gonna be too tight. So I did try it on and I don't think this fabric is as stretchy as I thought it was. So it's really interesting because if I hold it like this and I stretch it, it looks like pretty stretchy, but then once it has a seam in it, I feel like it doesn't stretch as much. So I'm a little bit nervous that this is gonna be really tight. Worst case scenario, I do it again, but with a stretchier fabric. I really love the design of this dress and I really want to use a sewing pattern. So hopefully this just works because this fabric is so fun, but I think that I could find a similar enough fabric if I absolutely need to. But we're just gonna keep going and then see how it fits at the end. And I'll probably keep working on it a little bit later tonight once I get my daughter to sleep and once I have some dinner with my husband. So I will see you guys then. Okay, bye. Okay, so I just installed the zipper and it actually worked, so I'm really excited. That wasn't as hard as I thought. This fabric is pretty intimidating. And invisible zippers used to really freak me out, but I've practiced a lot recently. I made a couple sunrise skirts. I feel like that was the first time that I did an invisible zipper that I actually was proud of, and since then, I haven't been as scared of them. So this actually turned out really good, but this is what the invisible zipper looks like. Now all I have to do is close up this side so that I can get the drawstring in. So all I'm gonna do is flip this inside out and then I'm gonna do a stitch that goes just from this line that I already made all the way to the end, and then we're gonna leave, I think it's like 1.5 inches right here that I'm gonna end up overlapping and kind of making a little casing with on the other side so that I can stick my string through it. So I'm gonna do that and then I will be able to try on this part of the dress before we put the ruffle on. Okay, so one thing I forgot that I need to do is I need to finish the edge like a couple inches in from this side because I am gonna be letting those strings hang down out of it. So I wanna make sure that even if I'm going to be attaching the ruffle to this part later, that this part is all finished so that it's neat at the sides. Maybe I'll just serge that edge and then I'll just hem it up out of the way so that later on I can still attach the ruffle to this part right here. So we're gonna do that now and then I'll put the sides together. Okay, so I just got the drawstring in and it looks like this, and I tried it on and it's actually so cute. So this isn't too tight for me at all. I kind of forgot that I made the bottom a little bit bigger than the top. So when I saw how the top fit, I was like, oh my gosh, if it fits this snug at the top, it's going to be way too tight in the bottom, but this actually fits perfectly. So it's really nice to be able to shorten this up on the side, but since I'm adding a ruffle, I do think that I need to take a little bit off of the bottom of here. My ruffle is 5 inches long right now. I do think I'm just going to trim along that side so that the ruffle is a little bit shorter too, because I do still want this to be a short dress. I'm not really adding the ruffle for the length as much as I'm adding it for a little bit of like shape at the bottom. So I am gonna trim this up a little bit, maybe like an inch, maybe a little bit more than an inch, and then I'm gonna add the ruffle on the bottom and then we will be done. So I'm excited to show you guys how that turns out, and I will finish that tonight and then I can try this on tomorrow. Hi, okay, so we're back. It's been about 2 weeks since I last saw you. Last week was very busy for me, but not with sewing. I was really busy working on stuff to prepare for the event, and I did a bunch of signage for the event, and it ended up being so much fun. We actually had it this past Saturday, and I wore my dress. I'm pretty sure I only took like 2 or 3 photos at the event because I was just really busy chatting to people, talking to old friends and new friends. So I'll put a couple of the pictures of Patrick and I right here. I did end up wearing a leather jacket for a lot of the night just because I was outside a lot. But yeah, it was a super fun event. We all had a good time. I am glad that the planning and everything is over, so now I can get kind of back into sewing. And since I already tried the dress on for you guys, I wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit more just to kind of show you the details. So here it is. Here's the dress. It turned out so good. I'm so happy with it. I forgot to take some of the basting stitches out on like the gathered parts, but it doesn't really matter. Since it is so shiny, you can't really see any of the imperfections, but I'll kind of try to point them out to you. So yeah, this is what it looks like. There is gathering on this side right here, and then there's gathering on this shoulder right here. I forgot to take the basting stitches out, so I don't know if you can see those kind of sticking out. I still need to take them out. Yeah, they weren't really noticeable at the event, but now that I'm looking closer at them, I know that they're there. So I'll probably end up taking those out eventually. But yeah, it's gathered on the shoulder, it's gathered on the side, and then it has this whole area on this side that you can actually adjust. So I like to scrunch it up quite a bit just to kind of give it that extra like gathered look, because I think it looks really cool with this fabric. And then what I did with the bottom here did end up working. So I wanted to leave it so that I had those big long strings hanging out, but then I also had the ruffle on the bottom here. So the way that I did that, let's see, I first hemmed this part up, and then with this hanging down, I sewed the ruffle on right sides facing, and then once that hangs down, it just kind of pushes the finished edge up so you can't even see it. So yeah, this is what that looks like all finished. So you can't see any of the inside edge or anything. I actually didn't even serge the inside of this. So like I said, I was kind of in a hurry, so I didn't serge this edge or anything. Maybe I will. I don't really need to with this fabric, but just to make it kind of feel a little bit more finished officially, I probably will eventually. And then I chose to leave the actual edge of the ruffle raw too, because I started hemming it up and I just didn't like what it looked like. I think that it just added a little bit too much structure to this bottom ruffle, and I really like it to look, I don't know, like kind of like liquidy. Does that make sense? I feel like that sounds kind of gross, but I just kind of wanted it to look really, really smooth. And I didn't want to throw like, I don't know, a structured seam into that. So I really love how this looks at the bottom. I feel like it's the perfect length too. If I want it to look really short and kind of spicy, I can. But if I want to be a little bit more conservative with it, I can. And since this is like pretty fitted anyway, I didn't want to look like I was going to the club on New Year's Eve, even though this dress kind of screams New Year's Eve, I guess. So I ended up wearing this to like fingertip length, I guess. But it's really fun, really short. So that's why I showed you kind of both ways in the try on. But yeah, I'm really glad that I ended up doing the grading for the sizes. So again, I have a size 4 in the chest, and then I had a 6 around the waist, and then I had an 8 around the hips. And that ended up being absolutely perfect. I did end up adding quite a bit of length to the arms because my arms are just pretty long in proportion to the rest of my body. So I'm really glad that I did that. And I did end up hemming the armholes. I didn't hem around the neck at all. So if you can see that, I just left that raw too. I just felt like the same thing here. If I had added a hem around the neck in this fabric, you would have been able to see the stitching, and I just didn't really want that, especially in this metallic fabric. Maybe if I had just done a flat knit or something, then that wouldn't have bothered me. But yeah, in this fabric, if you do any sort of top stitching, you can definitely see it. I guess I can show you what that looks like kind of along this right here. So you can kind of see all that stitching here, and I'll pull it straight so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So that's what it looks like through here without it all bunched up. But yeah, that channel turned out really nice and straight. And then this is what it looks like on the inside. So I didn't finish any of these edges on the inside either because I just wanted it to lay really nice and flat. And again, this fabric doesn't fray at all. So you don't really have to finish the edges. If you really want to, you can. But for a dress that I don't plan on wearing all the time, I didn't really feel like it was necessary, and it would have just added a little extra bulk. I'll definitely wear this dress again. I love what it looks like. I love the fit and everything, but it's definitely more of like a festive occasion dress. So I don't see myself reaching for this all the time. I don't feel like I'm gonna have to wash it a million times because I just won't wear it that much. So that's why I'm really not that worried about any of these raw edges fraying. I do really want to do this in a couple other fabrics, some like more casual fabrics. I guess not really casual, but I do want to do it in like a couple cozier fabrics. I feel like this in just like a cozy black knit with some tights and boots for like a date night would be perfect because it kind of has a sassy silhouette to it, but it is also really comfortable. I was super comfortable in this all night. Even though it's a snug fit, it's not super constricting, so it was perfect. And I did end up doing the zipper in the side. I don't really feel like I needed this. I forgot the zipper was in the side a couple times when I was trying it on, and I had no problem getting over my shoulders. So it might be different for you depending on what size you are in the waist. I did a size 6 in the waist, so maybe if you're smaller than that, then you might really want the zipper in the side, but I felt like the waist on mine wasn't too small for me to get my shoulders through. But yeah, overall, I really loved this sewing pattern. Following the instructions was easier than I thought. It was also really nice to have a video tutorial to follow along with. So if you're curious about like how this comes together in more detail, I'll make sure to link that video in the description. I watched the whole video before I even got started making this, just so I could kind of interpret the instructions, already knowing kind of visually what it all looked like. And I feel like that made it really easy for me to put together. I'd still eventually really love to do this in the full length version, just because I think it's so elegant and beautiful. I don't really know when I'm going to have a formal event in the winter to go to, but if I ever do, I know exactly what pattern I'm using. I really just love the versatility of this pattern because I could always do like the one shoulder sleeveless version if I wanted to use a stretchy fabric in the summer. That's another thing about this pattern. I remember when I was looking for a dress pattern for stretch fabrics, and I felt like it was a little bit limited. I kept finding a lot of the same stuff, and when I came across this, it was one of the more exciting styles, and it was something that just kind of felt more special with some of like the gathered details and everything. So I'm really happy that I came across this pattern because especially with like a tight fitting dress on myself, I like for there to be a little bit of texture. I don't love wearing a bodycon dress that's just flat on me. I feel like it just doesn't do anything for my body, while the ruching details on this actually kind of accentuate my curves, and it just has a little bit more detail where it could have been just really plain. I really love wearing asymmetrical pieces too. It kind of guides your eye kind of across my body. So yeah, if you're looking for a stretchy dress pattern, I highly recommend this. I will definitely be using this again. Okay, well that's everything I have for you guys today. It was so fun to make that dress. I'm already looking for reasons to wear it again, but I feel like I'm going to have plenty of reasons soon since it's going to be the holidays. So fingers fingers crossed that I get invited to some fabulous parties or something. Maybe I'll just have to throw in myself. But yeah, this turned out way better than I ever expected it to. So thank you for following along. This was really fun. So now that I'm all finished helping plan this event and finished making this dress, then I'm really excited to move on to a few of my other fall sewing plans. I have some button downs I want to do. I have some really cozy sweat sets that I want to make, and just kind of a few other wintry basics. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that. If you like this video, and if you didn't like this video, then I hope you like the next one. All right, well, I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you later. Bye.